Shabbat Shalom, everybody. We'll have plenty of opportunity to schmooze and socialize and catch up after the service, but because it is time, Kivah Moed, the time has come, we'll begin with a song for Shabbat Shuvah, Return Again.
Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are. Return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return to who you are, return to what you are. Return to where you are, born and reborn again.
Return again.
Return again, return again. Return to the land of your soul. Return again, return again. Return to the land of your soul.
Return again. That is a summary of these days. Welcome to Shabbat Shuvah, the Sabbath of turning, the Sabbath of coming back to our true selves, to coming back to our better selves, to finding hope and reconciliation in our relationships with one another and with God. This idea of Shuvah, later taken by the rabbis as teshuvah, turning, is described in the Midrash as one of the few things that existed even before the world. That before God created the world, God created teshuvah. Seems like a curious choice, no? Why teshuvah? Well, according to Talmud scholar Adin Steinsaltz, this idea of having a time out of time, or a creation that almost inverts creation, is that we can sort of undo the natural laws through teshuvah. It's something that exists in a realm apart from the path of normal time. In other words, that when we do teshuvah, when we meet one another in a place of reconciliation, apologizing and granting forgiveness, in some respect, we're able to turn the clock back. Not that time goes backwards in the literal sense, of course. Not that we can undo things that have been done, but that in the moral sphere, there is a sort of repair. There is a sort of reversal that is possible. And this, my friends, is, I think, one of the most amazing things about Judaism. Change is always possible. Despite what we might think about the linearity of time, it's always possible to go back and make a change. Even when we feel the most cynical, we should remember this about teshuvah. It's pretty amazing because something that's at once highly conceptual and almost magical is also highly practical. It's also about going up to the people that we love and just saying, hey, I'm sorry for this. I realize I caused you hurt for that. Would you forgive me? That's all that's asked of us in these days of focus and teshuvah. So with this message in our heart, we begin our service on page 120 with the lighting of the candles. We invite Bill and Kate Lee to come up.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
As we enter into Shabbat, taking a breath and space away from all of the cacophony of the week, we hope to create space of silence and song throughout this service. We'll start with Lecha Dodi, the crown jewel in the gem of Kabbalistic poems, welcoming Shabbat and entering into a taste, as the rabbi said, of the world to come. Page 138. We're going to sing a couple more verses than before, so just follow with us. We're going to sing verses 1 through 4 and verse 9. Is that right?
1 through 4, 5, and 9.
1 through 5 and 9.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad, Yishmi'anu el ha'miyuchad, Adonai echad, u'shemo echad, l'shemo tiferet v'litila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki mekor haberacha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sov ma'aseh b'machshava tchila. Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Mikdash melech ir melucha, kumitzei mitoch ha'afecha, rav lach shevet be'emek habacha, ve'hu yachamol alayich emla. Either part. Lecha Dodi, Lecha Dodi likrat kala. Or you can try both of them if you're brave. B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela.
Hita'ari me'afar komi,
Livshi bigdei tifartecha mi, al yad ben Yishai beitcha lachmi. El nafshi ge'ela, lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Verse 5, Hitorari. Hitorari, kiva orech, kumi uri, shir daberi kevod Adonai, alayich nigla. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Please rise, we face the back.
Gam besimcha uvesola, toch emunei am segulam.
Boi chala,
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela.
we can have a seat. I know we're starting to feel the first chill of autumn out here, which is such a nice way to feel, in my opinion. That might be a gendered opinion. If it is, I apologize. Does anybody happen to have a couple of extra chairs in their car by any chance? If you do, would you mind grabbing 2? And that would be so wonderful. Thank you, Jody and Stu. Thank you so much. We'll continue with Shalom Aleichem, that famous table song. In the wake of the destruction of the temple, in the place of the altar, entered the family table. And what is more important around the family table than a Shabbat meal, which is, a time usually to celebrate with those we love. I know that it has been harder to share meals with those we love around the same table for all kinds of reasons. So we can imagine ourselves tonight in fellowship, in unity, in yachadut, in togetherness, as we sing Shalom Aleichem, page 142.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharim, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leShalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Marchutni leShalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seitchem leShalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
As we transition into a Ma'ariv service, we say Chatzi Kaddish on page 144. Those are the blue bracketed page numbers at the bottom of the page, the blue bracketed ones, page 144.
Yirkadal v'yirkadash Shemei Rabba.
Amen.
Be'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlik malchutei.
B'chayechon v'yomechon Uvchayedecho Beit Yisrael Bagala Bagala Uvizman Kariv V'meru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevorach Le'olam Le'omei Almaya Yitbarach Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar v'yitremam v'yitnasei v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei Kudsha Brichu
Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata
Tushbechata v'nechemata
Da'amiran be'alma
V'meru
V'meru Amen.
Please rise for the Baruch Hu on page 146.
Yai, 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 yai,
Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai dai yai dai dai dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. A blessing for the evening on page 148. You can read together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim b'chochma poteach she'arim uvitvuna mishane yitim umachalif et hazmanim umisader et hakochavim b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtsono borei yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or.
Umavir yom umevih laila, umavtil ben yom uben laila, Adonai tzevot shemo. El chai v'kayam, tamidim l'chalenu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, amariv aravim.
Amen. For Torah on page 150, we'll read in English. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai, our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel.
Ki heim chayenu ve'orech yameinu, uvahem nege yomam v'layla, ve'havatcha tasir mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch Shemo
Yisrael.
Page 152, Shema.
Shema
Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Please be seated. Page 154.
Ve'ahavta
Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha b'derech u'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha u'keshartam le'ot al yadecha ve'hayu letotafot b'neinecha u'chetavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'v'isharecha למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם Adonai Elohechem Emet. Let's read together about the brokenness of our world and the strength that we can use together, our courage, hand in hand, walking toward freedom. Page 157, the bottom of the page. We'll read responsively. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace. Give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. Together, the high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
Malechutecha ra'u v'necha Mokeyam lifnei Moshe miyam Ze'elianu ve'amru Ze'elianu ve'amru Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed Mikamocha ba'elim Adonai Mikamocha ne'edar ba'kodesh Nora tehillah nora seifele Nora tehillah nora seifele.
Tradition teaches us that we have two commands to keep Shabbat, because it looks two different ways in the Ten Commandments. On the one hand, we're told, Shamor et Yom HaShabbat, you should guard the Sabbath day. On the other, we're told, Zachor et Yom HaShabbat, you should keep the Sabbath day. This is a good opportunity as we sing V'shamru, that we should guard the Sabbath day, to remember that there is an instinct in religion, regardless of where we fall on the religious spectrum, on the spiritual experience, that wants to hold on to something, that wants to keep a piece of tradition. There's probably something in all of our backgrounds and all of our memories that puts us in these seats here tonight or on Zoom, that keeps us coming back, that wants us to re-engage with warm feelings and reconnect with memories and perhaps continue family traditions. So this is an opportunity as we sing about remembering Shabbat, and specifically this aspect, the guarding of Shabbat, that we can think of one thing that we want to hold on to guard, to protect, and pass down from one generation to the next. In our Shabbat tradition, in our holiday tradition, be curious to know afterwards what that is for you. V'shamru is on page 162. That's it. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam
B'nei Oven, B'nei Yisrael, Oti le'olam, Oti le'olam.
V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam
Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש,
שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. One of my favorite things about the Jewish prayer cycle is that it follows the yearly cycle, the monthly cycle, the holiday cycle, the weekly cycle. When we listen to the sounds that Cantor so beautifully sings for us, we can know whether it's an evening service or a morning service, whether it's something going on at the holidays or during the month of Cheshvan when there are no holidays. In this particular case, we have some special insertions that remind us that it's Shabbat Shuvah. In fact, I think there's only a couple of places in the whole Siddur, maybe this is the only one, where there's literally only one time in the whole year that we sing this. And that is during Shabbat Shuvah in this Amidah, during this Shabbat service. So pay attention during the Amidah that will have an insertion during the Avot V'Imahot, and it gives us a chance to sing that familiar high holiday tune. We're on page 164. Please rise if it's comfortable to do so.
Adonai Sefatai Tiftach Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Adonai, open my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Ve'Elohei Avotenu ve'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Bekonei Hakol, Bezocher Chastei Avot ve'Imahot, Umevi Geula livnei vneihem, Lema'an Shemo be'ahava. Zochreinu, Zochreinu, Zochreinu lechaim. Melech, Melech, Chafetz b'chaim. V'chodbeinu, v'chodbeinu, b'sefer ha'chaim. Lemancha, Lemancha, Elohim Chaim. Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei hakol atah Rav le'Hoshia, Morid hatam. Mechakel Chaim bechesed, Mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar, Michamocha ba'al gevurot, Umido melech, Melech memit umechayeh, ומצמיח ישועה.
ונאמנתה לחיות הכל.
ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל.
אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש,
וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני המלך הקדוש.
The Amidah continues through page 180. Take a moment now for silent reflection to continue with the words of inspiration in this book, or perhaps just to take a moment of silent meditation and reflection at this inward-looking time of year. Please feel free to have a seat whenever you're ready. Our hearts turn now to those who are ill and in need of healing within our community, within our families, our friends and acquaintances, and also all those in our country who are struggling with illness as we as a country struggle through a pandemic. Think of our temple members, April D'Amato, Burton Boardman, Norma Diamond, Henry Gettenberg, Carol Gordon, Sandra Hyman, Tom Louie, and Josh Lipschitz. And our loved ones, Shai Tovia, Connie Ambrosino, Stephen Verdi, Rabbi Mark Golub, Harriet Cohn Haggerty, Mickey Barr, Jay Fliss, Sue Yaris, Jerry Hill, Mark Ostreicher, Sidney Scher, Bart Young, Steve Rudnick, Andrea Schaffner, Jeffrey Indies, Marilyn Newman, Jennifer Murphy, Helen Dreyfus, Sabine Meyer, Gloria Newell, Bill Goff, Barbara Rabin, Maggie Atkinson, Joan Sidney, Gail Feiderberg, Samuel Feidelberg, Deborah Poulin, Devorah Shlamit, Ira Weiss, Betsy Powers Brown, Lillian Wasserman, Maris Dorsey, and Yonatan Chotimer. If there are others who we'd like to add to our prayers tonight, feel free to name them aloud or hold them in your heart. I'll come out in case you would like to say their name aloud. Would anyone on Zoom like to share the name of a loved one you're thinking of? Guess not. We'll join our voices then in prayer. May they be healed quickly, or if not, may they have strength to endure, and all those who care for them. Page 371, Mi Shebeirach.
Mi Shebeirach Avoteinu Mekor HaBracha Leimoteinu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi Shebeirach Imoteinu Mekor HaBracha Lamoteinu. Bless those that need hope healing with refuah Shema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Do you remember that Beatles song, I Get By with a Little Help from My Friends? I actually learned it first from the Wonder Years because, who was it that sang that cover? Joe Cocker, I think. Isn't that his name? Sings that awesome cover. It's really, truly a great cover. I know there's a lot of disagreement about whether the Beatles can be covered. I think it's a great cover of that song, personally. You can disagree, and I'm sure I'll hear about it afterwards. Anyway, there's a Jewish way to say that, and it's all over this week's Torah portion. It jumps out as you read through chapter 31 of Deuteronomy, which is basically the entirety of this week's Torah portion. And that phrase is chazak ve'ematz. I get by with a little help from my friends. Be strong, be courageous. It's this advice that repeats again and again. And we read it 3 times just throughout that one chapter. As many of you know, when something repeats in the Bible, it's usually very significant. Moses offers this wish to the Israelites, and then he offers it to Joshua, his soon-to-be successor. Moses knows, you see, that he is going to die, and the upcoming transition will be the single greatest challenge that the Israelites have faced so far. They are entering the promised land, finally, but without him as their leader. Moses says this to the Israelites, chazak ve'ematz, or in the plural, chizku ve'imtzu. Be strong, be courageous. But in my opinion, he should especially be saying this to the Israelite children, because they are about to be traumatized in a very extreme way. And if you think back to the sin of the scouts in the book of Numbers, you'll know where I'm going with this. There's a story in the book of Numbers where 12 scouts, notable leaders among the Israelites, go out and reconnoiter the land. They look and they see and they come back with a report that is in majority very negative, even though it was supposed to be positive. And one of the punishments, the very extreme punishments for this negative report, is that that entire generation of Israelites will die before entering the promised land. Of all of those people, only 2 of them will actually get to go into Canaan to start the new episode and epoch of the Israelite life in their promised land. So what does that mean? It means that the babies and toddlers who were living at the sin of the scouts 37 years ago, 39 years ago, people who were in their 40s and 50s, at this moment of entering the promised land would have already died, or they would be about to die. We don't really know what happens with that because the Torah doesn't dwell on that. It's probably a pretty good thing that the Torah doesn't dwell on that, because I don't really like thinking about it very much. I'm guessing you don't either, so I'm sorry to bring it up, but you'll see where I'm going with this. This is a detail of biblical narrative that alludes to collective punishment, and not only collective punishment, but I would say multi-generational punishment of children for mistakes that they had nothing to do with, even that many of their parents had nothing to do with. No chance for teshuvah, no chance for repair in any of this. And it really hurts me to think about all of this. And yet, there's a resonance with the cruel capriciousness of life here. In the year following the September 11th attack, many people predicted that that attack would be my generation's Kennedy assassination moment. They said that we would remember, all of us, where we were when we found out about it for the rest of our lives. And in fact, I remember, Cantor, perhaps you remember, perhaps many of you remember where you were when you heard the news. I thought it was some sort of prank until somebody wheeled a TV into my geometry class. I presume that most everyone remembers where they were, what they were doing when they heard the news. Perhaps some of us even lost somebody we knew or loved on that day. The wounds created on September 11th, 2001 have perhaps scabbed over, and there is scar tissue there. But the pain remains, and I know that many are feeling it freshly at this 20th anniversary on the eve of September 11th. And one of the most insidious effects of that terrorist attack, that series of terrorist attacks, is that it amounted to collective punishment for multiple generations of children. Children of those who perished that day. Children of first and second responders who had to care for them during a long and slow decline from chronic illness. Children not yet born who could only know of their parent from photographs, videos, or stories. I'd like to share a couple of stories of those children with you tonight. One of those children is Laurel Homer, who was just 10 months old when her father died in the crashes. Leroy Homer was the co-pilot on United Flight number 93, which is the one that went down outside of Shanksville, Pennsylvania after being hijacked. Laurel, who is now 20 years old, grew up feeling ashamed. She didn't want people to know what happened to her dad, and she didn't particularly want to understand what happened during his final moments. In Laurel's own word, her mom explained to her that there were bad men on that plane and that he was gone because of those bad men. She explains that it basically, quote, made me terrified of all men, including family members, strangers, everybody. Now, growing up, Laurel received child therapy, and she was able to connect with other children who had lost loved ones that day at a summer camp just for them called Camp Better Days. Another story. Consider Angelica and Aj Niedermeyer. When their dad, Alphonse, died, AJ was 2.5, and Angelica had not yet been born. Alphonse was a Port Authority police officer who rushed to the World Trade Center to help rescue people. He died in the South Tower at the age of 40. Because Angelica hadn't been born yet, she always felt jealous that her brother who was 2.5 years old, had a different relationship, could actually know her dad. Today, the siblings are very close, and they describe that they both resent the hero narrative surrounding the first responders, that they feel dishonors their loss, a loss that for them is both intimate and personal. As we reflect on the stories of Laurel, Aj, and Angelica, perhaps you're reflecting on other stories of people you knew and lost, or friends who lost someone. Given the part of the country that we're in, I'm guessing we all have some connection to that tragic day. I hope that as we remember and honor the lives lost on September 11th, we will also remember the far-reaching impacts of trauma and the needs for care and support that reverberate throughout a lifetime and throughout our country. These are just 2 examples that I shared of the thousands of lives forever altered that day. That's why when we memorialize the victims of 9/11 this weekend, I will start by thinking of the children, then and now. Rabbi Erwin Kula has created a memorial practice where he reads words of some of the final voicemails, emails, and messages left by the victims of the attacks and their loved ones. He chants them according to the Echa trope from the book of Lamentations. Lamentations, as you may recall from earlier this summer, tells the story of the destruction of Jerusalem, and like the events of September 11th, contains a number of grisly details that we would prefer to forget. So I won't chant the whole thing for you using the Lamentations trope here, but I will read a few excerpts from some of these messages, which I hope will help bring us back to what it felt like to live on that day and to be caring for somebody in harm's way. As I do, I'll invite Cantor to please light our candle of remembrance for the more than 5,000 people who died on September 11th, 2001, and of illness following the rescue efforts that followed. A few excerpts from those final messages. Honey, something terrible is happening. I don't think I'm going to make it. I love you. Take care of the children. Lori, I love you. I'm in the World Trade Center and the building was hit by something. I don't know if I'm going to get out, but I love you very much. I hope I'll see you later. Bye. Mommy, the building's on fire. There's smoke coming through the walls. I can't breathe. I love you, Mommy. Goodbye. Hey, Jules, it's Brian. I'm on a plane and it's been hijacked, and it doesn't look good. I just wanted you to know that I love you, and I hope to see you again. And if I don't, please have fun in life, and live your life the best you can, and know that I love you, and no matter what, I'll see you again. I invite us all, if it's comfortable, to please rise for memorial prayer. I'll read this first and then Amalek. Eternal God, source and creator of life, from the depths we have called to you. We call to you again tonight for courage, strength, and wisdom on this anniversary of our nation's tragedy. Comfort those who stand alone, without spouse, parent, brother, sister, or friend. Open our hearts to them and to the children orphaned 20 years ago today. Enable us to love more deeply all children who suffer. Accept with mercy our prayers of healing on behalf of the families of the victims and the first responders who became ill at Ground Zero. May we give hate and vengeance no sanction. May our country ever be a shelter of peace, a symbol of freedom, a beacon light of compassion and justice to the downtrodden and the oppressed in the world. Strengthen the hands of our people to defend this country. Inspire our leaders and diplomats to act wisely and to pursue peace everywhere. May we teach our children to be courageous in thought and deed, and to nurture hearts of wisdom and minds of integrity. May we raise them to fight against fear, hatred, and bigotry wherever they go. We offer our prayers on behalf of our country and our government, our president and judiciary, our officials and institutions, our soldiers and citizens, upon all who faithfully toil for the good of our country, to preserve democracy in our land, to advocate for civility between adversaries, and to treat every human being as infinitely worthy and dignified by virtue of being created B'Tselem Elohim, in the divine image.
El male rachamim shochein b'meramim Hamsei menucha nechonan tachar kanfei hashchina b'mahalot gerashim uteharim gezar harakia mazirim et nishmar yakirenu she'alchu le'olamam Baal harachamim yastirem beseter kanafav le'olamim Mitzror beritzror achayim et nishmatam Adonai hu nachalatam Yanuchu shalom al mishkavam v'nomar Amen.
Compassionate God, you dwell in the heights. Grant eternal rest under the protective canopy of your loving embrace to all those who perished. May they be with you in the light that shines as brightly as anything we could possibly know. God, you are their refuge and their inheritance. May they forever be remembered, and may they rest in peace. As together we say, Amen.
Amen.
Our service concludes on page 586 with the Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol Lateit gedula liotzer breshit Shelo asanu kegoyei ha'aratzot Velo samanu kemishpachot ha'adama Shelo sam chelkeinu kahem V'gor aleinu kechol hamonam V'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim Lifnei melech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Page 591.
V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz Bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad U'shemo U'shemo echad.
Please be seated. We take a moment to add to the memorial prayers we just uttered the names of our own loved ones who lit up our lives and whose light burns deep within us, even though they are gone from this world. Take a moment to share the names of those who have passed away from our congregation in recent days, and then I'll invite you, if you'd like to share anybody's name, who you're saying Kaddish for tonight, too. You will have that opportunity. First, in the period of Shuvah or Shloshim, 7 or 30 days following a loss, and I invite you, if you'd like to, you can rise when I read your loved one's name. We remember Robert Merkin, brother of Judy Merkin-Strom, Joseph Flatley, husband of Karen Flatley and father of Sabrina Holton, Marjorie Sherry Weber, sister of Susan Burstein, Kenneth Maurer, father of Sabrina Maurer, Maxine Weinstein, cousin of Phyllis Kaufman, Nicholas Avalone, loved one of Amy Agranoff. And at this time, we also commemorate the yahrzeits of the following: Benjamin B. Levine, Walter Hahn, Herbert Galvin, Doris Johnson, Louis Hutensky, Rose Stoller Beckman, Morris Crumbine, Augusta Powell, Michael Bender, Ralph Ferrucci, and Leighton Lee. If there are other names we should add to our prayers, feel free to share them, whether you're in person or in the chat on Zoom at this time. Together as one community, we honor the lives lost and celebrate the memories of all we've cherished. We rise as one community and turn to page 598 for the Mourner's Kaddish. There's also an extra word in here, so watch out. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehe shemei rabbah mevorach le'alam u'le'omei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei d'kudesha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechamata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehe shalama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imrumav, huya aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. May the source of strength give strength to us as we grieve and remind us that there will always be a new day ahead, even when the night feels the darkest. So together we say, Amen.
Oseh shalom b'imromav, uyaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Please be seated. Happy to invite up Jody Ambrosino, who on behalf of our board of directors will offer us greetings on this very special Shabbat.
Shabbat Shalom. My name is Jody Ambrosino. And yes, I'm shorter than you are. I currently serve on the board of directors as Director of Youth Activities. A warm welcome to all the guests here with us tonight. Tomorrow, join us for Torah study at 9 a.m., led by Rabbi Moss. The link is in your inbox. This Sunday at 2 p.m., join us at the TBT Cemetery at Beaverbrook Cemetery in Clinton for our memorial service. Yom Kippur is this coming week. Kol Nidre services will be at 8 p.m. this Wednesday, September 15th, on Zoom. Yom Kippur morning services will be at 10 a.m. on Thursday on Zoom. We will be holding a discussion group on Zoom at 2 p.m. and a short family service appropriate for children grades K through 5 in person at Woodwinds in Brantford on Thursday at 2:30. Finally, we have our afternoon Mincha, Yisker, and Nila service Thursday at 3:30 on Zoom. See your High Holiday Bulletin or the TBT website for a full schedule of all of these dates of the High Holiday events and services. Links for holiday services will be sent to all members and registered guests on Wednesday, so please don't worry if you haven't seen those links yet. Next Friday, September 17th at 6 p.m., Shabbat services will be outside and in person on the green here in front of the First Congregational Church here in Madison. Please check your inbox regularly to remain up to date on all holiday services and activities. Shabbat Shalom and Shana Tova.
Is that service really at 3:30? The afternoon service?
I think so.
Really? I think I told somebody the wrong thing. Okay.
It's okay.
Oh well. All right, everybody. Let's make some Kaddish. Not the bugs.
There's a lot of flies in the juice, so I'm not going to drink it.
It's really gross. You don't actually have to drink it.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho ve'avav ratzon inchilanu Zikaron lemaseh v'reishit Ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh Zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim Ki banu v'acharta V'tanu kidashta Mikol ha'amim V'shabbat kodshecha Ve'ahava u'v'ratzon Hinchatanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat Amen.
Hopefully nobody's in class, so this served to use for purpose.
Yes.
Beautiful. That's a Susie original, right?
Yes.
Thank you, Susie.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lachem min haaretz. Amen.
It looks really coming. It almost fell. That would have been very bad. I really am looking forward to the days when we can share bread together again. It's really not fun to just be standing here and munching in front of all of you. I hope you enjoy it more than I do. Closing song is... It might be poetic justice, but we're going to end the way we began, with Return Again.
Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return to who you are, return to what you are,
Where?
return to
heart.
Return to the land of your song.
In these intervening days of Aseret Yemei Shuvah, may we find moments of introspection. May we feel the weight of the human condition occasionally, but not always. May we find moments to grieve what we have lost, whom we have lost, and also to celebrate what we have gained and what we know we will gain together in the year to come. May we find ways to move together as a community, knowing that the next year will be better and that we will move forward confidently together. Amen.
Amen.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.